first question we probably ought to ask is, what is a city? And all around the world, people have different definitions of what a city is. Some people define it by size. And so in Europe, say, a hamlet has a certain size, a village has a certain size, a town has a certain size, and a city has a certain size. And a mega city, and even categories that are larger than that. So when we think about city transformation, what are we talking about? We've thought a lot about this, and the best definition that we've seen really comes from our friend Tim Keller at Redeemer Presbyterian Church in New York. And Tim says a city is a walkable, shared, mixed-use, diverse area. It's a place of commerce, residence, culture, and politics. And that's a definition that we like because it can work for a city of 25,000, 15,000, or a city of 10 million or more. What is city transformation? City transformation is really the integration of the good news and the good deeds of Jesus in such a way that it brings about spiritual and societal transformation. Well, what's spiritual and societal transformation? Well, we think that spiritual transformation comes as a result of an increasing number of people that are loving the Lord their God with all their heart, their soul, their mind, and their strength. And societal transformation comes about as a product of people loving their neighbors as themselves. It's no more simple nor complex than that.
You know, as I travel around and speak about city transformation, one of the first questions that always gets asked is, well, is there a city that's been transformed, or where's transformation taking place? And you know, in a way, we can say that cities will never be transformed, past tense. In fact, Jesus in a kind of promised that they wouldn't when he said, "The poor you'll have with you always," which means that cities in this, in our age, are always going to have issues and problems. They will never be fully transformed. But we think that city transformation is analogous to the personal spiritual transformation that takes place in our own lives. The Bible speaks of it in three tenses: past, present, and future. If anyone is in Christ, he's a new creature. The old has gone, the new has come. That's a past tense thing. And there was a time in each of our lives. I was 9 years old when it happened in mine, when I passed from death to life. It was a moment in time and something new happened. But only a fool would try to convince others from that point that I've been transformed. I've never sinned again or anything like that. That's just not the case. The fact is that we are being transformed day by day into the likeness of Jesus. We're instructed in Romans to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And so there is this present tense ongoing transformation that takes place. And then we have the wonderful promise that one day we're going to be fully like Christ, that the old will be completely gone. This process of transformation will be completed, and we will become like Christ. We think city transformation is very much the same way. There's a point in time, I can't point to any city that's been transformed, that has none of the problems that it once had. But there are many cities I can point to where something has begun in that city.
Henry Drummond wrote a book. It was actually just a little treatise. He was a Scottish man who wrote a book called The City Without a Church in the 1880s. And when he was writing, it was at the tail end of the Second Great Awakening. And he began to think about how do Christians become people who, because of their good nature, are living out that nature in cities, becoming salt and light right where they are, so that the darkness is pushed away, and people who are living in substandard conditions are given new opportunities because Christians take their rightful role as citizens in those cities. Out of that Second Great Awakening came a woman in Minneapolis, where I'm from, by the name of Martha Ripley. Today, there is a bronze statue of her at our state capitol. She came as the 7th woman doctor to the Twin Cities and moved into Minneapolis, which was a mill district. And what she was able to do was she discovered that women at that time who got pregnant out of wedlock were being put out of their homes. Where did women give birth to their children at that time? In the home, with a midwife. And so she started a new kind of hospital called a maternity hospital. And as she started that, she began then to take in women who had been thrown out of their homes by their own families and didn't have any place to live or a job to go to, and she provided housing for them while they were during their pregnancy, and then provided a safe place for women to give birth to their children. And as she did so, it was discovered that there was a lower infant mortality rate because she provided this kind of in-depth medical care for them. After the children were born, they continued to provide housing for women in this area of the city, and also jobs, and social work was in fact entered into our city scene because of the work that she was doing. Well, here's a woman who was a deeply committed Christian, whose mother had read her the Bible throughout her life growing up because of the Second Great Awakening and a deep spiritual impact it had, and now she was living out her faith in a transformational way. We want to empower Christians to live out their calling confidently so that they change the world in permanent ways. Today, women don't dream of having their children at home, at least not too many. There are some. Most will still go to hospitals, and hospitals now have maternity wards where babies are born safely and in a good environment for them to have the greatest chance to live. That's the kind of real and permanent change that we're looking for when it comes to city transformation. Today, there are things we take for granted that, in fact, were birthed because of a vision of a more compassionate world, of a world that reflects more carefully the vision that Isaiah expresses in Isaiah 65 and elsewhere. That's what I think of when I think of city transformation.